A review of the first phase of Singapore's response to the pandemic is underway and the findings will be shared upon completion. Should women now do national service? Defence Minister Ng Eng Hen says the societal cost will far outweigh the benefits. Don't throw your TRACETOGETHER token or delete the app just yet, as contact tracing measures may return if the COVID situation worsens. Hello, you're watching The Big Story with me, Olivia Quay. Remember to subscribe to the Straits Times channel so you never miss an episode. Members of Parliament who are convicted and fined for an offence will not only lose their seat now if the fine amount is at least $10,000 from the existing $2,000. This after the House unanimously passed a bill today to amend the Constitution. Minister in charge of the Public Service Chan Chun Sing says that the increase takes into account inflation over the years. He noted that the fine quantum has not been reviewed since independence, and $2,000 then would amount to about $8,000 today. The change also takes into account the sentences handed down by Singapore's courts today for committing serious tax evasion and corruption offences, which Mr. Chan says are relevant to the integrity of a person. Finance Minister Lawrence Wong tells Parliament today that a review of how Singapore handled the Covid-19 pandemic is underway. It's being led by the former head of Civil Service, Peter Ho. Mr. Wong says the review will focus on the first phase of the pandemic up until August 2021.
For now, the pandemic is still not over, but the situation has improved. Therefore, the government has started work on the AAR, focusing on the first phase of our experience. In other words, what happened from the start of the outbreak till August 2021. The AAR is intended as a broad-ranging exercise to thoroughly analyze our experiences and review the lessons learned so that we can be better prepared for the next pandemic. We have asked the former head of civil service, Mr. Peter Ho, to oversee this process, and he has agreed to do so. The government will share the findings and lessons with the public when the AAR is completed. We will learn many lessons, many useful lessons from COVID-19, particularly the first phase of the experience so far, and we will use these lessons to improve our response for the next pandemic. And to the second question that Mr. Singh asked, indeed, the lessons that we hope to derive from this AAR will be wide-ranging and will include how we can be more resilient as a nation, how we can improve our supply chains, how we can improve our national resiliency in a broad range of areas.
Meanwhile, Health Minister Ong Ye Kung is reminding the public to not discard their TRACETOGETHER token or delete the app just yet, as Singapore may need to step up contact tracing measures if the COVID-19 situation worsens, including whether a new variant of concern emerges.
We are taking a cautious step down but not dismantle posture for our public health measures. If the situation requires, we will have to step up VDS and reactivate TT and SE. Ms. Nadia Samdin asked what the criteria are to reactivate these measures. It is a matter of judgment, depending on the severity of the situation. And we will have to take into account if there is a new variant of concern, whether it is more severe or more infectious than Omicron variant, whether past infections and current vaccines continue to confer strong protection against the new variant, and how all these affect our hospital capacity. I can understand some members of the public and members of the House want a system with transparent and clear triggering points, but I'm afraid this is not possible when we are in a pandemic crisis with fog of war. But through the MTF's actions over the years, I hope the public will also appreciate where we are coming from. We do what is necessary to protect lives when danger is upon us, and we will step down measures when they are no longer needed no longer necessary so that people can resume their normal lives. So the best step for the public to take is not to delete your TT app and not to throw away your TT tokens. Please keep them.
Responding to parliamentary questions about conscripting women into national service, Defence Minister Ng Eng Hen says such a move would come at a cost to families, society as well as the workforce, and so would not justify their enlistment. He cited women's roles in the Singapore Armed Forces and Police Force as adequate contributions to national defence.
The societal costs of enlisting women into national service now would far outweigh the benefits. Women will be delayed into their entry into the workforce. The immediate effect will be an accentuated decline in the size of our local workforce and a reduction of household incomes. Even if women are enlisted for non-military national service roles to augment our healthcare and social services, it may make manpower shortages in other industries worse. Over the long term, it will impose a great cost, not only on women themselves, but also on their families, children and spouses, and society as a whole. Is that cost justified to send a signal or to reverse stereotypes? From the government's perspective, no. I think most Singaporeans would say no too, from a security perspective.
In Parliament as well, Law Minister K. Shanmugam says that apart from the 11 cases uncovered, the Singapore Institute of Legal Education has not found any other cases of trainee lawyers cheating in their bar exams. He also says that while such cases have to be dealt with seriously, permanently preventing them from being called to the bar may be too harsh.
These are young people. Does that mean that you forever prevent them from practicing? I think most people will say that would sound very harsh. So what's the appropriate penalty, taking into account the seriousness of the offense, but also their age? And should they forever be prevented from being lawyers or being called to the bar? I think most people will think that's probably too harsh. Should they face a significant sanction that brings across the seriousness of the conduct? I think most people will agree with that. Within that framework, how the courts decide, I think we have to wait and see.
From Sunday, May 15th, the Defence Ministry will scrap the requirement for NSFs and regulars in the Singapore Armed Forces to surrender their NRICs for safekeeping for the duration of their service. Now, this will also apply to Home Team NSFs starting from the batch enlisting this month. The National Service ICs will still be issued since it remains the primary document for identifying NSFs. The NRICs for all serving NSFs will be returned in phases. As companies are being urged to impose a 2-week safety timeout from today, Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong says the recent spate of workplace deaths is far too many and isn't acceptable. Since the beginning of the year, 20 people have died at work, 10 in the last month alone. PM Lee is calling, quote, on everyone involved, employers, supervisors and workers, to take safety at the workplace seriously. We have a responsibility to keep all our workers safe, whether they are foreign or local. And overseas, speaking at Russia's annual parade marking the anniversary of the Soviet Union's victory over Nazi Germany in World War II, President Vladimir Putin says Russia's intervention in Ukraine had been necessary because the West was, quote, preparing for the invasion of our land, including Crimea. He also says Russian forces are defending the motherland in Ukraine, pointing out that everything must be done to avoid the horror of global war. Meanwhile, commemorating the same anniversary, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky says his country would win in its war with Russia and would not cede any territory. His speech includes, quote, on the day of victory over Nazism, we are fighting for a new victory. The road to it is difficult, but we have no doubt that we will win. Well, those are our top stories today. Visit straitstimes.com for more news and our YouTube channel for more videos. Subscribe by hitting the red button below. I'm Olivia Quay, and I'll see you tomorrow on The Big Story.